Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the SchoDown. It was a massive week for the footy club with a departing senior coach, milestones, and a more spirited performance against a top four team. Chat about it all. It's forwards coach Matty Knights. G'day mate, how are you?
Hey Sco, how are you mate?
Yeah, good. Had you on a couple of weeks ago, but a fair bit has gone on. It's been a big week for West Coast, but really West Australian sport. How was the week?
Yeah, it is big for Western Australian sports because one thing, being an ex-Victorian, and I spent 10 years at Geelong, being over in the West, the West Coast Eagles and the Fremantle Dockers, the saturation is just amazing, and the profile of the clubs and the players in the clubs and the staff. So, yeah, it has been a pretty big week from that perspective. And the later in the week, we just had to endeavour as staff and coaches to make the players feel as comfortable as possible to allow them to do their best against Brisbane yesterday. And that was our job basically, just try and keep everything in rhythm, keep it pretty calm, and just say, all right, well let's go back to what we think we can be good at in this game. And thankfully we played better, albeit no W.
I spoke to a few players last night after the game. They said it was a good training session leading into the game. Is that right? Like, it sounded like the boys were up and about from training.
Yeah, I think it was. It was a little bit more confrontational than probably per usual. I mean, I don't know whether it was the spillover of the emotion of the week or certainly the drills we put in place were based around contest and pressure. And there was a lot of energy and a little bit of I think a little bit of anger and a bit of frustration in it all. But there was certainly some method around it as well, some coaching and some teaching around that. So yeah, it was, I think, one of our better training sessions this season. Transferred to a degree, and let's hope we can have another good session this week.
How did the coaches box look this week? Was it any different? I mean, there was no really new faces, some new roles perhaps, but...
Yeah, slightly different. I mean, we had Kyle Horsley up in the box assisting Luke Shuey with the stoppages in the midfield. I had Jacob Brennan next to me as part of our development. He's our development forward coach. He works with the WAFL, so me and him were talking about bits and pieces during the game, which is really good for his development. But wasn't too much different other than, Sco had his role. Simo had been down on the bench a fair bit previously anyway, so the numbers in the box wasn't entirely different, and I guess the conversation in the box wasn't too much different to how it normally is. It was pretty respectful, and thankfully we were in the game for most of it. I thought we were hanging tough with Brisbane, and then we got a little bit of an opportunity late in the game to maybe have a bit of a dash at the win, but probably the most positive element is we hung around and we're still there at the end. I'm
sure Scully and you and the rest of the coaching group weren't trying to reinvent the wheel over 1 week, but were you pleased to see some, improvement in areas? Like what did you guys take out of it from a coaching point of view? Yeah,
I think for the majority of the year, start of pre-season, we've been really focused on, front half footy and getting the ball up and then defending really well behind that. The bonus is if you can have some good play in there and score, and so that was, I think, relevant yesterday. We had, 16 deep entries and we kicked 6 goals for, so that was a real positive in that aspect. And then parts of our game I thought stood up. I thought our tackle and pressure stood up yesterday, which was something that come out of the training session, which hasn't always been the case this season. We've been, I think, spasmodic in that space, our contest and pressure, and we've just got to make sure over the last 6 weeks we have that there, Sco.
So in terms of changes, Jack Darling, of course, didn't play. Yep. First time he's been dropped. I had a bit of a chat to him. I said, mate, you got about 35 of those to catch me, but I'm sure he won't be doing that. It was a bit of a different look forward line with no Jack Darling. He's always been there. He's been so consistent as a player. So how did you find that? Jack Williams getting a full game as a backup ruck?
Yeah, it's funny you laugh about that, Sco, how's the humility around being, and we've all been left out of a team, in AFL. And, thankfully, Jack, he took it in a way that he was very disappointed because he wanted to play for the team on the weekend, but he did it the right way. We stayed in communication leading up to the WAFL game. He put everything into the WAFL game. He was one of the first to put his trademark in by email to myself on the morning after, and little things like that say a lot. But it was a different looking forward line, and Jack Williams come into the team. And to be fair, Jack Williams was probably pretty stiff to go out of the team in the first place because he's a young man who was getting better each week. So he come in and did his job, and he was able to play that second ruck role as well, particularly against McInerney, who I thought Oscar had a really good game, Oscar McInerney. But to have Bailey and Jack to be able to go against him at times was good for us.
Wound back the clock a little bit for Liam Ryan in his 100th game. Of course, a full circle moment for him, given Jared Schofield got him to Subiaco, but it brought back some horror memories for me. I saw him standing in the goal square to start the game, and of course, one of the best marks of all time was on my skull out of the goal square with Tom Cole not able to put an arm across. I would have thought that would be pretty easy, but I've given Tom Cole feedback over the last 5 years on that. Liam Ryan playing a little deeper and then sort of pinch hitting. Is that sort of in through the midfield for some clearances late?
Yeah, he's done a little bit of everything in the last month. Done some centre bounce work, and I think he had a great centre bounce clearance yesterday, combining with Harley that he set up Jake Waterman for a goal. It was beautiful footy, but no, he started deep forward. I think that allows him to sort of get a bit of a look at the game, and then I think he came away from it with 21 disposals on the game and got some rewards, some goals. So, milestone games don't always turn out exactly what you want, and Liam was badly wanting a W for the team, but he played his part in doing well yesterday.
Touched on it briefly, but the WAFL had a great win on the weekend. Did you get to see much of that? Many of the boys catch your eye, some good performances? Yeah,
we had our captain's run, but all the coaches got here basically nearly for the whole 4 quarters. Sort of ebbed and flowed that game, and we got some ascendancy late through the WAFL. So, yeah, there was a number of good performances. From a forward line perspective, obviously Jack Darling went back and played well. He had 17 disposals, put pressure on. Archer Reid took a lot of contested marks and, got reward with kicking goals, and, he's the tallest player on our list. He's come back from, a really severe injury. So to see him developing well is a real tonic for us.
Yeah.
And then, it was good to see, with the size of the team, with Cohen Livingston, Harry Barnett, guys like that, just to be able to make an impact in small ways as the game went on. So Dom Sheed played in the midfield, did a really good job. His steadiness late in the game was really important with a few crucial touches and just his composure. And then you got, the younger guys like Jai Cully, Clay Hall, just trying to ply their trade and be selected in the AFL. And we saw Zane True was selected in the AFL on the weekend and got his opportunity. And it's good to see those WAFL guys, if they do develop and they do play well, that they get their spot.
Yep, good. All right, let's get to our listener and viewer questions over on social media. Chris Walker has got the first one in. How far off is Archer Reid from playing AFL? You just mentioned the big fella.
Yeah, the big fella. I don't think he's too far away from AFL selection. I mean, obviously we're looking to reward good performance. We would being the forward coach, we'd become one of the bigger forward lines in the comp if I put him in on with Jack Williams and Oscar and Jake, but we'll see how we go this week. He's given us a good shot on having a look at him. Second ruck work is sort of slow with him. We're going to try and sort of implement that into his game as we go, but at the moment we're just trying to get him settled as a forward. And I think he's getting closer. That's
good. Sounds like his confidence is going in the right direction. Lucas puts this one across, I should say, internally. What are the club goals for the rest of the season?
Yeah, the club goals are an interesting one. I think one of the big ones for us is, Don Pike, the new CEO, is, we've gone around some new values and committing to those as an entire football club. Players, staff, the like, so the whole football club really, locking into that and getting better in that space. I think from a football point of view, it's just a matter of, listen, can we be a good contest and pressure team and play some really good front half football in the last 6 or 7 weeks? The numbers are attached to that are sometimes a bit, hit and miss, but, I think from an optics point of view, if we can be good in that space, contest and pressure, and really the opposition really feel us physically, I think we'd be doing a good job.
Is that the feedback that was given from the weekend? Is that how you spoke to the players, really?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we're going to articulate at SCO to the guys tomorrow, to the players, is that, we chased some things in training last week. It was confrontational, it was aggressive. We saw at times us be able to execute that on the weekend. And the other part I really liked, the part of our game that I did like, is we started to link up and chain up with handball to get some better entries, rather than just jamming it on our boot and kicking the ball forward and surge. And there's a time for that, but I think we saw guys bring each other into the play a bit more yesterday, particularly through that midfield.
Yeah, and the forward handballs, that was noticeable calling the game yesterday as well. Moonraker 007. It's a nice username. Cripper said that Scoey talked for a fair bit longer than Simo pre-game. I'm talking about Jared Schofield. Do you think that was nerves or more his style?
Yeah, maybe it was like his nerves and a bit of style. I think he, being a new coach, and you'd have a couple of days, you got to being respectful to Simo and what had been there previously, and also then trying to add a bit of Scoey style. And I think because of that, it may have gone a bit longer. I didn't really notice it as such, but
Cripper's not the best in meetings at the best of times.
I'm not going to add to that because you're going to be in my forwards meeting tomorrow with a scowly look
Well,
on your face.
You tell him. Scoey said, mate, you hate meetings.
I'll tell him Scoey said, man. I'll tell him that.
That's good, mate. Were you able to add any sort of help along the way, given your experience as head coach?
Yeah, I think, Sco and I always get on pretty well, and just being in the box yesterday, you just at times, you just might add a little bits and pieces. Might be relationships during the week. Is how can we go about this? How can we keep our communication up with the players and make them all feel really comfortable about this, whether it's AFL or WAFL. And then the opportunity for the players in this last 6 or 7 weeks, we've all got to lean into it as players and staff. We've got to lean into the opportunity because we can't for 6 or 7 weeks be dormant. We've got to get a fair bit out of this last part of the year.
Well said, mate. That's it for this week's episode of the SchoDown. Nido, thanks very much for joining me, mate, and all the best for the 6-day break and the Saints this coming weekend.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.